morning, everyone. This is my first live stream during this class where I can share the screen and you can follow what is happening. Okay. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes until you can join in. Okay, so wonderful. I have just put my smartphone so I can see how many of you. Good morning are here. Good morning to Claudia and to Maike. So this is our last time we are going to meet, and I thought I'm going to try something I have learned last week. I have experimented with. Good morning. How to stream live and how to share my screen as well. I'm using OBS Studio, which enables me to put my picture down in a small size and also to share the screen as well. So the first question for today is, can you see me? Can you hear me properly? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So today's class is going to be the last one. This morning we are having the last class because this is going to be a complex class. Then this afternoon we are not going to have a session. Then we can have a chat or an argument if you wish on the Google Class platform. You can ask me there any questions, so that is not going to be a real time session. So for today I brought you something really interesting. I think it should be discussed. So what's here is none less than a survey published on World Economic Forum about COVID-19, how it has changed the habits, media use, consumption habits of each and every generation. This is our farewell class where we are going to discuss the findings of this survey. Several surveys have been published lately. Some of them, they are representative to a country or to a university. Every university has been doing its own research, and the findings can help make our educational system better. But what about media? What about use of media? How has it changed? Let us see. So first, what we have to establish is how a significant proportion of world's population is currently under some form of lockdown. Lately, maybe starting from last week, there have been some changes where the lockdown isn't as strict. But this survey was done during that lockdown that was really serious, during the quarantine. So we have witnessed consumption, uncomprehended levels of media to keep us users entertained while staying safe indoors. And we can see that this consumption is not the same across generations and the types of media. because, well, we belong to different cultural groups and also maybe societies even. So first, what I brought you here is the media consumption of Generation Z. This generation is considered nowadays to be targeted the most by marketeers, salesperson, and so on. And there is a really nice infographic. The survey was done in United States, in US, and UK, and almost 4,000 internet users between the age of 16 and 65 replied, and here are the results for Generation Z. So what we can witness here, it's really nice to see basically a spider web diagram inside a person's mind, where the biggest change occurs in the use of online videos, in the consumption of online videos, where it has basically, well, plummeted, rocketed to 51%. Also, playing video games has risen to some 31%, and for example, Microsoft has got some monthly packages where you can play on your Xbox using the network and playing with others. So now the amount of subscribed users has reached 10 million. It's a huge number, and during this coronavirus crisis, this number has risen. People watch more TV as well, but the rise is only 24%. Even physical press. So it's interesting to see, if you cannot leave your home, how can you consume more physical press, right? Radio has risen some 17%. Online press 21%. As you can see, it doubles the amount of physical press that is consumed. And music streaming is 28%. We all know that music streaming is a kind of service which is associated with flat rates or monthly pays. So basically it means Deezer or Spotify. You have, of course, YouTube Music as well there. Online TV streaming 30, if my eyes are not mistaking me, 38% online TV streaming. So one would expect that people living inside their homes, they would use traditional TV, but this is not the case. Live streams like this one I'm doing now, they are more popular. 17% more of consumption is here. And also, you would think that podcasts have become popular on larger scale, but this is not the case. Podcasts are not as popular as one would think, even among Generation Z. I don't have too many acquaintances or friends or colleagues who listen to podcasts. You can see how the millennials, in Hungary we call them Y generation, who are a bit different than the X generation and much more different than the following Z, Generation Z, how the millennials are listening to music or watching movies. Only with online videos have risen as well. You can see that more or less the amount is proportionally the same as here, right? but for example, books and literature is a bit more popular. I won't be scrolling as much, and online videos are a bit less. Also, online press is much more popular among millennials than in case of Generation Z, for example. So this means that after all the hardships we have witnessed, after the quarantine is lifted, after the ban that we cannot leave our homes is lifted, maybe there is going to be a constant and long-lasting change in the ways how we use digital media. This research is not about the use of digital media and the ways how we are using it. Are we using it in a smart way? Are we thinking through how we use digital media? This is only about amount of use. So maybe you can see here that this red territory is the millennials, and compared to it is the Generation Z. There's no such huge change, but mostly millennials they consume even more media nowadays. Quite different story here in case of Generation X. I myself belong to that generation, closer to 40 than to 54, of course. And the biggest change is in the way how they use podcasts. Broadcasts. For example, TV is the most popular among Generation X. And there is no such surge in use of video games, for example, and even online press isn't as popular as in case of millennials. So the most active users have become those who belong to the millennial generation, and maybe from these data we can establish that people who belong to Generation X, they actually don't consume so much media, rather they have discussions with their family members, and here we don't see any data regarding the online chat or the conversation discussions we have. So basically this is media consumption and not the communication activities we can all do using our networks. So the last generation is the boomer generation or the baby boom generation, and as you can see the change is not as significant, even at some parts it's not present almost at all. For example, 4% of podcasts is is somewhere among the statistical error even, and the online video consumption, where it was witnessed to be some 50% up compared to these 11%, is nothing significant. But also broadcast television consumption has risen as well. So we cannot bring such long time conclusions using this data. But what we can do is see where are the spikes, and the marketeers, those of you who are interested in marketing and management, for example, you can see how some generations are eager to consume more media, and you can actually find out what kind of media they prefer. So this case you can target them specially, and maybe the result in long terms is going to be really positive. For example, there is no use in selling music streaming or online videos or even live streams to uh, baby boomer generations, but online TV streaming is popular among almost every generation, so this is a thing you can consider doing. In the second part of today's class, I'm going to introduce you what kind of activity increase can be witnessed in this special situation, and I'm going to take my time and put my image somewhere else, not to interfere with what I'm showing to you. As you can see, I just moved to the left side of the room, right? And here the data is going to be more visible. Okay, maybe I should have done that earlier, right? Okay, so the most popular activity for us is to search for coronavirus updates. When you're afraid, you should know something more about your enemy or the source of your fear. So this sounds reasonable. The biggest activity is witnessed among millennials, and as we have seen, the millennials are the most active of all. Listening to music is a feature of Generation Z. Generation Z is listening music on the go, but here they have to stay at home. But nevertheless, it would be interesting to see how, for example, the sales of wireless headphones or earphones have changed, and compare it with music streaming subscriptions. It would be lovely to do that. Also, watching movies and TV shows is popular among every generation, but watching funny videos is also mostly the feature of Generation Z and millennials. So these funny videos, they are, well, quite popular nowadays. I'm going to show you at the end one of my favorite collections of images of coronavirus. So playing games on mobile is rather popular also among every generation. Here you can see that there is no such huge gap or difference, even between Generation Z and Boomers, where the age difference is significant. But looking at the memes is also specifically connected to Generation Z and millennials. And from here, mostly the millennials are going to define the media consumption. For example, searching for cooking recipes. Maybe you have done that. I certainly have. Or reading business and finance article and news. Generation Z doesn't really care for that. But those who maybe are still really active even during the coronavirus crisis in the world of work, for example, they work from home office, they can say that this could be quite interesting. So here it comes, reading healthy eating articles. Also millennials are here the most aware of its consequences, that you should eat healthy. And reading sports news is also popular among them. So going further, basically none of the generations are really determined to stay off the internet. This also means that they are actually using the network for mostly entertainment purposes, as we have seen. And finally, let's check which are trustworthy sources according to generations. Also, let me remind you that this survey was done asking American and British or US and UK citizens. So people believe most World Health Organization websites. Frankly speaking, I haven't checked their websites at all. Government websites are trustworthy according to average of 49%, so half of the people say that. Less than half say that government emails and newsletters are trustworthy. News channels, I mean TV news channels, they comply to 39%, and here we cannot see a huge difference. For example, Generation Z and baby boomers, they believe both that 39 that they are same trustworthy. Health authorities, email newsletters, here we can see that Generation Z doesn't really care for emails or newsletters, but the average is still 38, and 34 are news websites. So people believe more to television rather to news websites, what is not really new to me. Scientific articles. Oh gosh, this is disappointing, and this is depressing. 31% of of all responders trust scientific articles, and this is bad. International news. The older you are, the less you trust international news. Radios, some average of 24, and expert blog posts 20. Wow. People, they don't really trust blogs. Even worse, news shared on social media, and still we are on social media, right? Facebook is spreading TikTok. My kids who are, well, age 10 and 14, they are on TikTok, and they started making TikTok videos together. So news in magazines and newspapers, even worse, 16%. So people trust television more, 2.5 times more than news published in newspapers, which is, well, also an interesting fact. And word of mouth from family and friends. There is a media theory which states that people, they tend to trust more to their family members and friends rather to media itself, because, well, you think that your friends and family members, they have processed the information, and thus this is more punctual, but this is not the case, it seems. Foreign government websites, wow, only 15%. What's worse is video sites. So basically some 88% of people wouldn't trust me while I'm streaming. And finally, we have here the podcasts, which are trustworthy only to 10% of people. My final info that I wanted to share is this beautiful infographics regarding the percentage of people who would consider paying for subscription they didn't have before the outbreak. I myself, I have subscribed to Netflix and Spotify both, but there is Disney as well, which is on the rise, and Prime Video, Spotify. And what's interesting here, of course, you can see that the Generation Z is represented on the outer lines of the circle, and the boomers are somewhere inside. And 80% of the boomers, they wouldn't even consider changing basically anything, getting a new subscription. But for only 43% of Generation Z says that they don't want to have any new subscriptions at all. So what's interesting really here is that most of the people they still consider getting a news subscription, but we shall see that, for example, some newspapers, they are not so popular. One would think that people would trust newspapers more, but they wouldn't. Okay. So finally, I wanted to share with you my my album of people and here I'm going to just to cover this and to add something new to something new. Here there should be something I'm trying to do here is that I'm going to show you some images I have found online, how people try to make masks against the coronavirus, but I'm not sure I'm able to. No, this is not what I'm trying to show you. So, yep. Maybe this one, it will just take 1 second. I'm not sure that I will be able to do that. Okay. Here it is. Okay, so it goes. How people try to defend themselves against coronavirus. It's a funny compilation. Okay, this is a funny compilation. First of all, you can see what kind of masks people use. I won't be adding any comments to that. Maybe you have seen something similar to that as well. This image gallery is about people's creativity and the ways we are trying to be creative and save ourselves against the virus. Again, no comments. People are rather creative, I would say. Okay, so this was our really last class, and I really wanted to thank you for being here, for being with me, and I wish you much nicer year, rest of the year. Please stay safe, take care, and if you have any questions, send me an email or use the Google Class as we started to do so. So thank you very much. Be safe and many goodbyes.